conversation.
We do. We talk about anything. Like, there's nothing that I'm afraid to talk to you about.
Right, exactly.
I will literally show you my butthole if I had to.
Oh, God. Jesus. Well, if you ever had like a tapeworm situation, I'm not going to lie. I got your back. I guess.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Let me just get a Publix bag and...
Hola, mi gente. Welcome back to another episode of the Corazon Chronicles podcast. I'm Jannese.
And I'm Ray. What's up, guys?
Hey, y'all. I'm super excited for today's episode because I think I'm going to be a little bit of the guest.
Oh, yes.
You're going to be asking me some love and money questions.
Love and money questions. Absolutely. Yeah, I know in the last episode we kind of ended it off, and I wanted to just talk a little bit about, couples that are, going through any type of financial adventure together, whether they're debating on conjoined bank accounts or trying to invest in on something together, or maybe start a business together, or maybe one person work for the other person, stuff like that. So I think this is probably more of your realm. So
yeah, I'm super excited to tap into my expertise. So if you guys don't know, I also have a second podcast called Yo Quiero Dinero that talks about money, investing, and building wealth from the lens of a first-gen Latina. I didn't learn shit about money growing up, and so everything that I've been able to accomplish financially has been because of self-education. So reading books, listening to podcasts, trial and error, making a lot of money mistakes, and I've pretty much kind of been through it all when it comes to, navigating the world of money. Most recently, getting a divorce and like experiencing, what that looks like and financially. Yeah. And I've started businesses, closed businesses, worked in corporate. I have a book coming out that's going to be talking about my money journey and just all the lessons that I've learned along the way. So super excited to hopefully share some tips and tricks today to navigate love and dinero.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. And I think a lot of people are actually going through stuff like this that's pretty similar, because I know that we're pretty fresh, and we're actually coming up on our 6th month.
Oh my God, babe. It's like, that's a milestone.
Right. And we're going to be in Puerto Rico for it too, which is even better.
Yes, I can't wait. We're actually going to shoot some vlog style content out there so you guys can experience the magic of Puerto Rico, and maybe you'll see a little bit of why we fell in love over there. Because, not to be biased or anything, but I do think it's one of the best places in the world. Yeah,
it has nothing to do with our heritage at all. Right? Nothing to do with how good the food is or how good the music is.
Either. No.
Okay. I can't wait to do the vlog style content. That's going to be great because, at least we can kind of show people what we do, when we're down there, and the fun side of, a little bit of financial freedom, I guess, right?
Yeah,
it's really what it comes down to. So,
yeah.
All right. So, and then we also have another segment from the Am I the Asshole that we're going to get into later.
Yes,
right?
Of course. I know y'all love that segment.
Yeah, that's the topic for that one. I'll give it to you now. That way you guys can kind of fester on it throughout the episode. But the topic for that specific one is a gentleman and his coworker his coworker's a female, right? And then so his wife and her husband, the 4 of them kind of know each other and hang out and stuff, right? And there seems to be some tampons popping up, and we don't know if it's evidence of a scandal, but we're gonna dive into it and see.
Oh God, this seems like it's gonna be sticky.
Yeah, I don't know. It's usually pretty quick to be like, I don't know, something's going on. I'm about to hire cheaters.
I've always said that I feel like I want my second career, or whatever number this is at this point, to be, I want to be a PI. I want to bring back the show Cheaters.
Damn.
And I would literally want to be hired to investigate people, because in my friend circle, I'm always the one that people are asking to investigate the new boyfriend. So I'm the one that's going on the Google search, pulling up the background checks, scouring social media for anything suspicious. Like, people already know you want Jannese to be on this case.
Damn. Well, there you go, guys. Just right there, like she said. If you guys need any type of PI work,
just hit me up. We can work something out.
Holy shit! All right, so let's go ahead and dive into it. All right, and then I guess we'll kind of just see where the conversation takes us.
Okay.
But what do you think is usually like the natural timeline for a couple that's together? It doesn't matter how long they've been together or whatever, just what would be the timeline, a couple should think about maybe looking into each other's finances and stuff. Because I know it's, when things are new, it's like respectful and it's the right thing to do to like kind of stay out of people's pockets, right?
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, once the relationship kind of evolves and stuff like that, I mean, what does that look like? Do people need to be living together first before they explore each other's finances, or do they need to identify a reason why to even look into the finances together? Like maybe they're going to start saving for something. I don't know. What do you think the ideal timeline is for something like that?
I think for me, it's actually before moving in together. I think once you've like moved in, it might be too late to have that conversation because, at that point, you're assuming that you're going to take on some sort of shared financial responsibility, whether it comes to paying rent together, groceries, utilities, all those things.
Right.
So I feel like when the relationship feels like you're ready to take that next step, which is usually what people do, is moving in together, I think that's the time to have like a serious sit down meeting where you are, literally just putting it all on the table. And if that conversation is transparent and you both feel comfortable, then it's great. But if you're starting to feel like this person's not willing to be super transparent because there might be some shit lurking in the back.
They have like some debt or something.
Yeah, or like a bad credit score that like if you go to get an apartment, you're not going to get approved or whatever.
Right.
Like if the person's being kind of dodgy and it's like, well, I don't know why you need to know all that, then I think that's a big red flag.
Yeah, I think you're right about that too. And I think that also there has to be like, I mean, it would make sense that there should be a common goal or reason, right? Like you said, the moving in thing would be, I guess, the one of the big things, right? Or maybe even, saving up for a trip or something together. I know you and I had talked about doing some type of like separate account just for like saving for fun things and stuff like that. Now we haven't done anything like that yet. And we're taking our time with everything, but what do you think the natural, I guess, what do you think about people having conjoined bank accounts in the first place? What are your thoughts on that? Because that could be kind of sketchy.
I mean, I think it's okay as long as you're not combining everything. Like, I'm not a big fan of Dave Ramsey and like
one
this whole mentality.
Account.
Yeah, like
that's crazy.
To
right?
become one and like all your money is together.
Yeah,
I just don't think it's like a smart thing to do. And especially coming from my perspective as a woman who has been divorced.
Right.
Like, I know that if my money had been tied up with my ex,
yeah,
we'd be having a completely different conversation about what my life looks like right now.
Yeah.
It would have been really, really devastating financially.
Right.
Not to mention, like, God forbid you're in a physically abusive relationship and all your shit's combined. Like, how are you going to take money out? This person's going to literally be able to stop you from leaving.
Right.
And so, like, the thing about financial abuse that a lot of people don't realize is like 99% of abuse type of relationships involve some type of financial abuse. There's some sort of control. And unfortunately, women tend to be on the losing side of that.
Yeah.
So I think, just to protect yourself, you cannot tie up all your money together. You should definitely, like, if you have shared goals, cool, have a joint bank account that is like for specific purposes, whether that's saving for a house, a wedding, whatever. But you still need your own like separate spending money because it's a matter of like personal safety.
Right. And I mean, you could even have like a conjoined account for like that time when you guys do move in together. You could have a conjoined account for the rent and the bills.
Yeah, I definitely think that makes sense.
People that are like roommate situations, a group of guys or something.
Yeah.
They'll do something like that or whatever. And then you're right about that too, because my dad's built this business for himself. And, his wife has been in tow the whole time. Right. And she's been there to support and help and stuff like that. So, but, her credit and stuff was used in the beginning. Right. And then once they got married and stuff, they have a split bank account. You know what I mean? Like it's literally like they each have a card. And, they're tied into LLCs together and everything, which is fine. That's fine. If you stay together. If you stay together, right? And it's like, and they it seems to be fine and working out for them. But boy, oh boy, that does scare me for people like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure he doesn't have a prenup.
No, all that, no way.
Yeah.
There was nothing before, right? There was nothing before. It was like, well, she had good credit, you know, and then he was using my grandmother's credit card to fulfill the orders and then pay her back and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
So he was getting it done, but now that his credit is probably immaculate, now it's everything's. But you talk about being stuck though, right? I mean, if this, people like that could end up being like, man, I don't love this person anymore, and I'm so stuck in what we've built together and all this shit that if I walk away from it, I'll have to go stay in the extended stay hotel.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of people don't realize that there is actually a solution to what you're talking about, which is a postnuptial agreement.
Right.
So it's literally just the same type of deal as a prenup that you do before marriage, but with a postnup, you do it after marriage. So let's say like 5 years in, you have built a business. Maybe you've like inherited some money, or you think you're going to inherit some money. Like you can get a postnup after getting married so that you can make sure whatever you've built still stays with you, even though you've built it during the marriage.
But you have to get the postnup while you guys are married before the divorce. You can't be like, hey, we're going to get a divorce and I need you to sign this postnup.
Right. No, there has to be a lot of transparency with that process, because postnups are one of those things that can be contested in court if there's any signs that like the person was coerced into signing it. So you have to be really careful with that. So my best advice is like, if you find yourself already married, you're building wealth, you're making money, starting business, whatever, like talk to an attorney that specializes in family law. But also like both of you should have separate attorneys to review that postnuptial agreement, just to make sure that there's no undue influence that can then be used in a court of law to try to dispute that agreement.
I think that I think I'm all about having split accounts, split everything. You know what I mean? If there's one conjoined account, great. But at the end of the day, it's like, if I have my own savings account and I'm putting in my own thing, then, when it comes down to like time to use it and stuff like that, then, if I've been doing my part, the money should be there. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of one of those things too. But I've always thought, even back to when I had my business before and stuff, I've always thought that I was going to keep those things separate, like have those things very separated, because, regardless of the whole yours is mine and whatever, like, and that's fine. I was in a position where I was like, she's been with me the whole time. Like, yeah, she's got a right to it too. I didn't really feel like it was just my money. Yeah. But at the end of the day, really and legally, it is just my money.
Yeah, I mean, you're not married. You don't owe anybody anything, like according to the law, and I think that's one of those things you have to be careful when you are doing things like, let's say you want to buy a house together and you're a couple, but you're not married, right? We're hearing about this on an episode of I Will Teach You to Be Rich with Ramit Sethi. He's a really popular personal finance personality, and he's talking to a couple that they've bought a house, and now the girl's like, we've been together 5 years. You're not really hitting the milestones that I want you to hit as. I want you to get married. I want to have a baby. And now they're talking about potentially having to sell this house, which is very fucking messy in the legal situation, because there's no, the thing about marriage is that it's a contract. It's something recognized by the government. There's a process to get married and there's a process to get divorced.
Right.
And that's dictated by the laws of the state. When you're a couple that's just a boyfriend and girlfriend, there's no automatic, here's how this shit works when we break up situation, especially if we own things. And so that's when shit gets really sticky.
Yeah, I've never seen it work out. And I've never, you never really hear of these success stories of like, true 50-50 of everything, especially with how common divorce and breakups are and everything now too. It's just like, I feel like our minds are so conditioned to the possibility of the shit's just not gonna, it just might not work out. We're actually like more inclined to believe the statistic of like the 60-40 or the 70-30. It's like, it's really, you see everybody's reaction when you hear of like a couple that's been together for 40-50 years. People are looking around, they're like, fuck.
Yeah, it's like unheard of at this point.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I even think about that. I'm like, shit, 40-50 years with the same person. That's like, that I know for a fact that shit took a lot of work.
Hell yeah.
And everybody does, right? Everybody looks around and they're like, yeah, so you never really hear those success stories of like the conjoined thing and anything like that. But I'm just curious on like how to navigate that for other people who like maybe it's more one side. Like, what if one person is wanting it more than the other person? Like, how do you deal with something like that? Like,
what do you mean?
like in our situation,
Yeah.
if I was over here like, babe, like let's get a conjoined credit card, like let's get
Mm-hmm.
a conjoined bank account, like why don't we move these things in, like love bombing in a sense of like they're like trying to get into your finances.
That's
in
financial
a way.
abuse
Isn't that
potentially.
weird? Like,
Yeah, it is, especially if like there's this pressure to combine finances, or there's this pressure to, hey, I need you to put me on your bank accounts, or shit like that is just weird.
yeah, because it's like I feel like, I mean, I'm still new to like the money game and everything too, but I'm sure that I'm sure they can like open up lines of credit in your name, or
Well, if
I
they have
wonder
your
if there's
social,
if they're right.
and that's the thing, you can actually put an alert on your credit report that requires a bank or some whatever institution to call you to verify that you want to open this line of credit. And so I actually have that activated on my credit. So when I went to get
that too.
everybody should look into that, because you don't want exactly what you're talking about to happen. So when I got my car recently, like they literally called me at the dealership, hey, we just got this inquiry for a new car loan. Is this you?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Please give me the
give me the fucking money. But yeah, I mean, there's little things that you can do to protect yourself from, somebody becoming a predator with your money.
So, all right, now, if you have something that you're working on and that you feel like you're going to be, you're going to have some financial freedom one day, right? You're going to have a little nest egg. You have something working, or maybe it's already happening. Is it wrong? Is it wrong to want to kind of hedge yourself against anything that's happening? It's like almost like the people who want people to sign a prenup, and the people that are like, no, I'm here for the love, but I'm also not going to sign the prenup. Because for me, I'm here for the love. Yeah. I've said it a long time ago, right? Like I'll sign any of it, because whatever you have going on is stuff that you have going on that you've built, right. And I would want that to be respected if it was vice versa, right? I wouldn't want someone to come in and be like, hey, just because I'm with you, the law says. That's weird, And then I feel like, the Gino and Jasmine thing on 90 Day, where he asked her to sign the prenup and she was making it a big deal and all this stuff. Is it wrong for someone to, when someone asks for a prenup, or they're trying to protect themselves, are they kind of like betting on the fact that it won't work out?
Well, that's the narrative, right? Then that's why a lot of people don't even want to bring it up, because there's like this stigma of like, oh, well, you're clearly planning to get married just to get divorced because this is what you're thinking about. But
I think it's a possibility to you.
Yeah, right? But I think that's stupid, honestly, because people are getting married later in life nowadays, right? And so you're getting more time to build up some sort of assets.
Sure.
When you're 18 years old getting married, you ain't got shit. You got but you're 35, 40, you've built up some stuff. You might have a house, a car, some fucking investments.
Yep.
And if you don't protect that, you're stupid.
Yeah.
At this point, it's like, it doesn't make sense to me why people still have this idea of like, oh, it's a prenup is just destined to make you get divorced. I think if you can have those types of hard ass conversations before you even get married, that's a better fucking sign that you actually do have the communication skills to navigate a lot of the crazy shit that's going to happen while y'all are together.
Yeah. And I think I would be a lot more open, especially if I had, it's like if you won the lottery or something, you wouldn't want to tell anybody. I think that I would much rather have someone be open and cool with the prenup because of what I said, like what it means. I think I would be like, okay, then I fuck with that, because at least now I have some reassurance that it's like, you don't want it to end, but you're okay with the fact that if it does end, you're not here for the money. Yeah.
And you're not letting the government dictate how things happen. You're actually being proactive about it, right? Because at the end of the day, if you don't have a prenup, the same way when you drop dead, if you don't have an estate plan, there are already laws in the books about how shit's supposed to get, divided up. So if you want to avoid the drama that is inevitably going to be part of a breakup, I think it just makes sense. And it's not just to protect the person with the assets. It's also meant to protect the other person who may not want to be involved in the shit that you're building.
Right.
If I'm going to take this huge risk of starting a business, I'm going to get into a bunch of debt potentially. If we have built that during the marriage, you are liable for that shit too, because it's a marital asset. A business is a marital asset. So the creditors are going to come after both of y'all, unless it says, any debts that I incur through the building of this business belong to me only in the prenup.
Got you.
So it's like you have to paint it like that too. It's to actually benefit both people.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. I could definitely see that as well. All right. So on the flip side, now you have a couple that is establishing that they're gonna make a run for it, right? And what do you think what do you think the right steps are when you're first starting to like cross examine each other's income and stuff? Like, what are the things that you're going to be looking for? Like when we did it with each other, it was more of like, well, I didn't even do it with you, right? It was
I think you're afraid of my finances.
It's just
like, this shit looks complicated.
No, it's just your thing, and it's just like the ins and outs of what you have going on is like that's what you have going on.
Yeah.
Mine was very direct. I have one job, I make one paycheck, and I pay taxes for one thing.
Yeah.
and I
Yes.
get like $1,000, $2,000 back from the government too. Like
Right.
that doesn't even happen for people like you. So
Yeah.
but I think like if you had like, two people that are wanting to like look at each other's finances and like they're wanting to, I don't know, join bank accounts or they're wanting to move in together, what are the things that you're looking for?
Yeah.
Like what are the red flags? What are the green flags?
So obviously you want to know how much each of y'all are making, because that's going to be able to dictate what
like
kind of house you can get.
Like per month? Or
yeah, I think so. Monthly
Yeah.
income is fine. Just and take home like after taxes, because it's one thing to like you're getting paid a salary, but that's not what you're actually taking home.
Oh yeah, my paychecks they take like $600-$700 out. It's ridiculous.
So you need to know take home pay for both of y'all. Credit scores, because at the end of the day, America runs on credit.
Yeah, it does, absolutely.
And then I want to know, like, what kind of debt do you have? Do you have $100,000 in student loans? Do you have medical debts that are defaulted? Did you not pay your credit cards? Like, I need to know all that shit.
Right.
It's not to say that, like, you break up with somebody because they have a bad credit score. Because I know when we first met, I started asking you about your credit, and you were like, well, I've never used credit.
Yeah.
Because I was raised in a household where, like, we just paid cash for everything.
Yeah, when I had my business, that's how I did my business too. It was like a big, heavy cash flow business.
Which is wild, because I put everything in my business on credit because it gives me some breathing room. And I also like taking advantage of like credit card rewards and stuff. So we operate completely differently.
Yeah.
But I say all that to say, you had a lower credit score than you do now because you just literally didn't have any credit.
Yeah.
Right. And
I did have like two little things on there, but it wasn't like
there was a cell phone bill.
Yeah, it wasn't like there was no thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
There was obviously no student debt.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, and I never applied for a house or nothing like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I guess like I was kind of at ground zero a little bit. But I've got 2 credit cards now, right? Yeah. I mean, so we're already
working on it, babe. I think your credit score has gone up over 100 points since we've met. So hashtag get yourself a partner that actually helps you achieve shit.
It has actually gone up because it was like, was it maybe like 520, 540,
You're
something
like almost at 700, I think.
No, it's I just checked it yesterday. It's at 723.
Shut the hell up.
Yeah,
you're officially in the excellent range.
It's
720 is where that threshold is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, so and then once I work on these other 2 cards, once they finally come in the mail and stuff like that, that'll be good too.
That's amazing.
All right, so back to the thing.
Right. So I said your take-home pay, your credit score, and your debt. I think that pretty much paints, the picture as far as like what can y'all accomplish right now together with that situation. But I think, it's
like
also
monthly
important.
Finances.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's also important to talk about, like, do you have any investments? Are you investing in your 401k at work? Do you have any rental properties? Like, because then you start understanding, like, where are we starting? Are we starting at ground zero?
You got to see what income's happening. And then like, geez, I mean, if that was the case with rental properties, I think, those things kind of branch off into other things, right? Because now you want to see what the mortgage is on that house. And you want to know what the APR is on that house.
Yeah.
And then you want to see the income that the house is maybe making versus what you're paying for the mortgage. Like there's a lot of breakdowns, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. So, and then the red flags obviously is going to be huge debt, multiple credit cards, multiple credit lines.
That they're not keeping up. right? Like I'm looking for defaults. So like one of the things that I found out about my ex was that he stopped paying his student loans. And so then he started getting his paycheck garnished.
Because I remember you telling me this.
The federal government does not fucking play when it comes to getting back their money.
Oh, they get there.
They will get that shit. They will garnish your paycheck. They will garnish your income tax return. They will take your damn Social Security if you still owe that shit by the time you're 65.
And it stays with you even through bankruptcy, right?
Yeah, you cannot discharge student loan debt in bankruptcy. It's the one type of debt that, like, it doesn't fucking matter. You better figure it out. Even if you can only pay like $5 a month, we're going to get our shit.
Damn.
So, I want to see, like, are you a responsible debt manager? Because obviously a lot of people have debt. That's just kind of how we have to operate in this country. Everything's too damn expensive. Unless you can pay like, $500,000 in cash for a fucking house, you're going to have to get a mortgage.
Yeah.
If you can pay for a car in cash, good for you. Most people cannot. So it's not about if you're in debt. It's how are you managing that debt?
Right.
Are you spending what you can afford? Are you just like, I'm going to run up these credit cards and then I'm not going to pay this shit and then they're going to go into default and then I'm going to have creditors calling my house?
Damn.
Because that for me is the sign of a character flaw. When you are bad with money intentionally and you just don't give a fuck, that probably means you don't give a fuck about other things.
Yeah, because like we've said before, the way you do some things is the way you do most things.
Yeah.
And it is true. It is true. I could imagine my mom has told me about that. She was like, she was the one. She was the fast one, the bartender. She had the credit lines, the car payments, all the shit, know. And I mean, she just got herself into another car payment the other day, obviously, right? She got the Jeep, but she had finally got the car paid off and everything, and that's the milestone. You get it paid off, but then she finally got her credit fixed and was able to buy a house later on in life. But, geez, like
that stuff takes time, especially if you have to repair your credit and if you have
minimum
to file for
payments
bankruptcy.
Are crazy, right? Like,
and the more that you put on credit cards, like the harder it is to pay off. So I think like if you're the type of person that just doesn't have financial discipline, or if you're with somebody that doesn't have financial discipline, when you start asking those questions, you're going to find out. Yeah. And then it's going to be like, why do you not care about paying back your money? Like,
and maybe that's when you're going to feel some of that pushback, right? You're going to feel the pushback from people who are going to be, I think if I had crazy debt like that, I would be embarrassed. That would be mainly
that's a
feeling.
Common thing.
So I'd be like, I don't really want to talk about that because that's kind of embarrassing, right? But it is. I think that I would look for that too, because I'd be like, well, how are you?
What's your plan?
Yeah, how are you living? And then also I think those spending habits as well too. Those.
It's just gonna pour over too, right? Like if you have a person who just spends like there's an unlimited amount of money in the bank account,
right? That's
gonna fuck up your plans as a couple,
right?
So you need to know if you're with somebody who just doesn't give a shit about honoring the credit limit on a card,
right?
And just like wants to be living that YOLO life, because if that's completely not aligned with like who you are and what you want to accomplish, then you're just gonna be fighting about money all the time, and then what's the fucking point of that?
Yeah, and the spending habits too are, I've got friends that have bad habits, and they spend money on the worst things. I was guilty of it too. I don't really have any vices. I was on those nicotine vapes for a while, and those things are, $15-20 a pop, and you're burning through one a week or whatever. But, some people like to drink a lot. Some people like to smoke a lot of weed, and then other people have more expensive habits than that.
Gambling.
Exactly.
They have the horse tracks.
I mean, they got their. Some people like to go hit the slopes when they're drinking.
Jesus.
So. a little bit of snow sport action, but no.
You gotta know that shit though.
It really is true, because like I don't really have huge spending habits. I'm not like a sneakerhead. I don't really buy fancy clothes or
you
anything.
Shop at Ross.
Yeah, and like what I do spend my money on though is 100%. My guilty pleasure is always gonna be food.
Yeah,
like that's my thing. Is just like I'm okay with shopping at Ross so I can go to Jersey Mike's and get a big Kahuna. It's fine.
It's fine. We all have our things that we like spending money on, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I
think it's just important to talk about those things as a couple so that not to be surprised when you start seeing recurring patterns on the bank statements.
Yeah. So now, I guess so. Say folks get moved in. Maybe they've been established for a little while together. Maybe they're married, stuff like that. What would be that? What does that next chapter look like, as far as being being invested together? Maybe
Yeah.
that's an investment. Maybe that's an investment property. Maybe we're going to start tossing around the idea of throwing some money in a Roth or something. I don't know. There's all kinds of things. I know that you and I are going to be working together here maybe by the end of the month or something on, putting some money around that I've got coming in to, certain investments and stuff like that, so I can make some money back on that money.
Mm-hmm.
And so what are your thoughts for like some of those young couples together? And by young couples, I mean like young as a couple,
Yeah.
what are those things that they need to be like, some of those milestones they should be looking for? I know it depends on whether they want to do a business or real estate or whatever, stocks. What would your advice be for like a young couple that are kind of exploring that next chapter in the monetary adventure? They've gotten past the credit, they've gotten past the, are we going to have conjoined? Now they're like, we have this money together, what are we going to do with it?
Yeah. So I think it's important to sit down and basically like come up with the vision of what you want your lives to look like, right? Whether that is having kids, one of y'all being a stay-at-home parent, starting a business, buying a house, becoming financially independent and retiring early in the south of France, whatever. I think that's the first thing you need to do. You kind of need to get on the same page as to like, what do you want your lives together to look like?
Right.
Because
with
when you
more
have
money.
Right, with those answers is when you can then start to put together a plan of like, okay, well, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm making $5,000 a month. So we're going to need to find some way to replace that $5,000 a month,
right.
Whether that's you getting a job that pays you more, whether that is us like potentially, let's buy some investment properties and then can give us, $5,000 in income, whatever. What you want to accomplish is then going to lead you to like, okay, then what do we need to do to get there? It's almost like a reverse engineering. Think about the goal first, and then let's construct the plan to get there.
Kind of break down and reverse engineer how the quickest way to get here with what we want to do.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the most important thing, because if you don't actually know what you're working together towards, you're kind of just like going through the motions daily, making money, working your job, but you don't actually have a plan for like what you're trying to do with that.
Right. Okay. So then let's say, for instance, for my situation, right? Let's say that I've got $50,000, right? Like an inheritance or something.
Yeah.
And so I've got this 50 grand. I guess the first thing I would want to do would be to take care of the taxes on that money, right? So that would be number one. Boom, we're going to take care of the taxes. What do we have left? Like 45,000?
Yeah, let's say 40, just to be safe. We'll give government 20%.
Yeah, because they always need more.
And if you are owed back, they'll just give it to you when you file your taxes.
Yeah, I would much rather send them more and get some back.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I've got 40 grand, and my goals are like, hey, I'm just kind of like just working right now. I don't really, I'm not really, my credit's not really perfect where I want to go buy a house. I don't know if my income is, I don't know if I can depend on my company as much as I thought I could or something like that. What would be the breakdown for the 40 grand? I don't need a new car. I've got a house that I'm renting. I'm fine. What would be the good breakdown with this 40K? What should I do as far as a young person or someone who's coming into that, I want to set up something?
Okay, so I think the first thing is, do you have an emergency fund? Do you have money set aside for if you lose a job? And say you break up and you got to go get your own place,
right.
So your car breaks down, like there's so much shit that can happen. So that would be my first question. Do you have money set aside to cover an emergency?
No. So then I'll take it upon myself. I'll take 5 grand out of the 40 and I'm going to put that in my emergency fund. So
before you allocate money, you have to calculate how much your expenses are on a monthly basis.
Right. Because they say you need 2 months of you need 3 months
at least.
So you need 3 months of income of what your daily spend is, right?
So your monthly spend. So let's say like your monthly expenses are $3,000, right? Yeah. To cover your rent, all your essentials.
Sure.
So then you multiply that by 3, and you need $9,000, which is your 3-month emergency fund.
Okay.
But that comes with a caveat. 3 months is if you have an easy time finding a job. Like, let's say you can just go out there, you get a job real quick.
Right.
Not that you have some specialized career that like you can only do in one part of the world.
Right.
Or it's just like the amount of jobs in that field are like very small. If that's the case, then you probably need to be bumping it up to like 6 months.
Damn.
So then at that point, that becomes 18 grand where,
right.
For your emergency fund. And if you're self-employed, I definitely recommend it needs to be even higher, like somewhere between 9 and 12 months.
Yeah.
So then we're talking about, potentially $40,000 is just going towards that emergency fund if you're a business owner, because there's just so many things that can factor into like how quickly can you recover from that emergency.
Right. Okay. All right. So
that's the first step.
Okay. So I got the 40 grand.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to take 10
grand. 10 grand.
I'm going to take 10 grand. I'm going to throw that in my Chase savings for my rainy day.
Yeah.
Now I'm cool.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so, all right, now I've got 30K left. What am I going to do now?
Yeah. Before we move on from that, I do want to recommend high yield savings accounts for storing your emergency fund versus just like a regular savings account at a bank.
You did tell me about this.
Yes.
That's
right. High yield savings accounts are just online bank accounts that have way higher interest rates.
Yeah, I think my Chase savings is probably like a fraction of a percent.
It's probably like 0.2% or some bullshit.
Yeah, it's bad.
Whereas a company like Ally Bank, you can get like 4.5% on your money, literally just having it sit there.
When I just did the Capital One thing, I just saw that they have a savings account and it's like 4.9 or something.
There you go.
It was crazy. I was like, I didn't even know Capital One did banking.
Yeah.
I just thought they were just credit.
Yeah, even investment companies do banking now. Like there's accounts called cash management accounts that you can get like with companies like Fidelity, Charles Schwab. And it's basically like a high yield savings account too. But it's a checking account versus a savings account.
So the highest it'll be is like 5%?
Well, it depends because as the government raises interest rates, the interest rates on those accounts go up.
Okay.
So it's always just a smart way to like literally make passive income on the money that you have sitting in a bank account anyway, because you literally don't need to do anything.
Touch. Right, right.
So I recommend high yield savings accounts.
For the emergency fund is brilliant.
Yeah, and especially because the cool thing about high yield savings accounts is that they are not typically associated with a physical bank. Right. So you're not going to just be able to walk into Chase and like pull your money out of an ATM. You're going to have to do a transfer to another bank account, and then you can go to an ATM and pull money out. So it just helps you like have that moment of pause, like, do I really need to take this money out?
Yeah, yeah, because my Chase savings right now, I can literally just fucking, I mean, it has its own card.
Right. So make it a little harder for yourself to take that money out. Okay, so now that we talked about that, my next advice would be like, okay, do you have any high interest rate debt?
And this is for couples too, right? Couples could be doing this together.
Yeah. Do you have credit cards that are like just racking up? And you're like, this shit's out of control. I just need to get rid of this debt. I would recommend taking a look and seeing like if there is high interest rate debt that you can get rid of with some of this money. Let's say you have $5,000 in credit card debt. Takes that $5,000 and put it towards the debt.
Because it is gonna hurt, but
at the same time, like you're not gonna have to worry about that shit anymore.
Yeah. And
you're not gonna be paying like 25-30% interest.
And let's not forget this money is like inheritance, like, you won the lottery or something. It's like free money in a sense. That's how I'm looking at it, right? So
if you come into money, like use it to put yourself in a better position than you were before you had that money.
Right.
And getting out of expensive ass debt is a move.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think I have like one thing on mine, and I think that it's like $500 or something, and I think I'll definitely end up doing that for sure. I'll definitely like just whatever. I think it's literally the one last thing, but I think that would be gone. Okay, so we've paid off the debt. We have our emergency fund in place. I think it's important to put aside some money to do something fun, especially because life is short and you want to make memories with money. So I think putting like $5,000 in a fun account, or, we're going to use this to go on a cool vacation. Maybe I'm going to upgrade my house in some way, blah, blah, blah. I think that's cool. Okay, so now we're down to 20K.
Now we're down to 20K.
So we've got $5,000 for a trip or whatever. $5,000 to spend on yourself.
Fun money.
That's the best way to put it, right?
Yeah, and like you can spread that out throughout the year. Let's say you want to spend like $500 a month on like bougie ass dinner at your favorite fucking place. You could do that for a whole year.
Yeah, and that's a fucking move too. Or it's like some people who don't really go out that much or whatever. They like want to ball out on a couple of subscriptions or
Yeah,
something. You know what I mean? I don't know. Or
Go,
buy a bunch of shit on Amazon.
Go get that luxury spa membership for a year, whatever you want.
Hell yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we're down to $20K. I think that the rest of the money needs to be allocated for wealth building. So whether that is like, let's put aside $10K for down payment on a property. Let's put aside money for investing in the stock market. I think that money should be allocated for whatever your shared wealth building goals are. Okay. And maybe each person has their own individual goal too, right? Like maybe it's like, okay, 10 grand is going towards our shared goal. And maybe I'm going to give you some money to go and do something with that. But it has to be investment related. It can be like, maybe you want to start a business. Here you go. Here's your starting money, your seed money. Or maybe it's like, you know what? I want to max out my Roth IRA this year. So here's $6,500 to go and do that shit.
Well, I really wish, I mean, everybody wishes it was more, right? But,
of course.
But at the end of the day, I mean, I do wish it would be a number that was like enough to be able to do all that. But really tossing around that idea of opening a smoke shop in Puerto Rico, I just think that's just such a move.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just think that, already doing some research on it and stuff like that is a move. But, and I feel like something like that's a little bit more reasonable to get into versus a house with everything the way that things are now too. So, all right, cool. So yeah. And I mean, I guess it sounds so easy when you just have like a number to just pull 5 from here and 10 from here. And then this 5 goes there. But I mean, eventually it is like that though. Eventually when you are financially set and stuff like that, you do have multiple bank accounts and it really is just moving numbers here and there, so, all right. Now, do you think that there are anything that you would suggest for couples or anybody out there really that they could do right now to maybe, I don't know, increase, I don't know, do you have like any cool tips or tricks on like quick ways that they can increase their credit or like anything like that? Like any, I mean, I know that you have like workbooks and stuff like that for them to like start side hustles and stuff, which I think starting a side hustle's got to be way easier to do in a couple situation than by yourself, Yeah,
because you can have support, to kind of pick up the slack with somebody's building.
I mean, how many times do you see these couples out here that are, starting a pressure washing company together, or they're starting a house cleaning business together? I mean, you've talked to several of these people. So what would be your advice for something like that?
So I think it's good to figure out like who's going to be kind of the money steward in the relationship, right? Like, because I don't think it makes sense for necessarily both people to be that person. So I think whoever is more comfortable kind of taking the lead with the finances, it's good to designate that. Like I've always been that person in my relationship where it's like we're earning money, but like I'm going to make sure that the bills are paid. Right. Or I'm going to make sure that this investment happens, blah, blah, blah.
Sure. I can respect that.
So figuring out who's who, right? Playing into your strengths. Maybe one person's really good at making money, but they don't want to deal with like filing taxes or, calling an estate planning attorney or whatever.
Better be careful.
Figure out who's going to do what.
Yeah.
And then, I think it's important, like figure out where those leaks are, those deficiencies are in your money situation. So let's say one person has good credit, the other one doesn't. You can make the person who doesn't have good credit an authorized user on your credit cards. Let's say you have a great credit score and you want to help your partner. You can make them an authorized user. Basically, that just ties your credit report to theirs, but they're not responsible for any of the debt that is incurred on those credit cards.
Right.
You don't even have to give them the credit cards because once you put somebody as an authorized user, the credit card company is going to send you a card for them.
Yeah,
don't even give it to them.
That's where you're getting into the territory of split bank accounts, split credit cards and shit. You don't want that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to give them the card in order for them to benefit off of your credit is what I'm saying. And the cool thing is that let's say you have kids. You can actually make your kids authorized users on your credit. And by the time they turn 18, they got a fucking 750 credit score.
Didn't you do that?
They can get the fuck out of your house.
Didn't you do that for...
I did that for my niece.
Yes.
So my niece is going to have like an 820 credit score by the time she's 18 years old.
Right.
She's going to set her up to be able to buy her first place. to rent her first apartment, to buy her first car.
She'll be able to get in.
She's going to be getting great interest rates because she's going to have pretty much like a 7-8 year credit history by the time that she is out here in the world as a fully functional adult.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my dad did that with my sister because she's 10 years younger than me.
Okay.
And she's in her sophomore year of college. And I know for a fact that she's been an employee of the business since she was like 14 or something crazy. She's been getting weekly and stuff like that, which has probably been going into a Roth or something. So anyways, continue.
Yeah. So I recommend doing that. But I also do recommend like not sacrificing your own financial goals for someone else. And the reason why I say that is because on Yo Quiero Dinero, I had an episode with a fellow entrepreneur. We were both going through divorces at the same time. And we talked about how the processes looked different for me, that I had a postnuptial agreement versus her that didn't. She basically ended up losing like most of her real estate investments. They had to sell all of them. She ended up having to give her ex like hundreds of thousands of dollars to compensate for like investments that they had to split up and all these things.
Jeez.
And one of the things that stuck out to me that broke my heart about her situation was while they were married, she was focusing on helping him max out his investment accounts. So maxing out your investment account just means putting as much as is legally allowed on an annual basis. And that maximum changes every year. It's dictated by the IRS. So I want to say that for this year, 2023, like if you have a 401k, you can put somewhere like $22,000. She spent like 5 or 6 years funneling their money into her ex's accounts. So they got his accounts up to like 200 grand. Hers were only like at 50K when they got married.
Wow.
And because of whatever the situation was with the divorce, he basically ended up with a lot more money saved for retirement than she did.
Damn.
Because she was putting a lot of her money towards his shit. So that for me is like, hell no, sis. I'm going to need you to focus on your own fucking accounts. And then when you have extra, then you can offer to help your partner. But don't be sabotaging your own financial success because you're like, oh no, I want to give it to him.
Well,
let's focus on him.
I wonder what kind of like, well, I guess that was for their bedroom talk or whatever. But for some reason, I guess it made sense to her on paper.
I mean, they thought they were going to be together forever.
Maybe they thought, well, we'll max out one first and then we'll max out the next one. And, was he older? Maybe he was going to retire.
No, they were the same age.
That's weird.
And she was an entrepreneur. He was working corporate. And so what's fucked up too about her situation was he was making like $200,000 a year through his job.
His company's probably matching a certain amount too, right? Yeah. So his shit was probably filling up fast.
Yeah, he was making $200K. I want to say she was making like $750,000 as an entrepreneur. But because she built her business during the marriage, she basically had to buy him out of her business, giving him X amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even though he didn't ever work for her, he never invested in the business. He never was a part of it.
No name on the paperwork.
But his $200K salary, he didn't have to give her half of that.
Right.
Because that's not how that works.
Right.
So it's just like, yo, there's so much shit that can happen in a breakup when you have a lot of financial intertwining.
Jeez.
And you just got to proceed with caution, y'all.
That's why, I think that's like, I haven't been able to, I haven't been able to see the legal side of like a divorce and stuff like that. Thank God, obviously. Wild. But I just have always had that inherent feeling in me of like, I think finances should just be separate. It is what it is.
But when they're separate in a marriage, it doesn't matter.
No, I get it.
That's the thing.
Right.
That's what people, don't.
The prenup thing.
They're like, oh, it doesn't matter. We don't need a prenup because we don't have any joint accounts. At the end of the day, that shit is all marital assets once you sign that fucking paper. Yeah,
I think that everybody should definitely always consider doing a prenuptial agreement, especially if, you think that, I think that it's big for people who are going to, they expect an inheritance too.
Yeah.
Because it's like, even if you don't have the drive or you're not building a business, like maybe you're just working your 9 to 5 and you're cool, you're just chilling, but that whenever Pops kicks the bucket, you're going to inherit half of a $20 million business.
Facts.
Like you're going to need to consider that, like, just because you married somebody and you inherited $8 million and then they want to like divorce you right after.
Yeah, they gonna get that shit if you don't have that in place.
Yeah, and then also, guys, I watch a lot of true crime. We're talking about all this. We're talking about all this prenuptial this and
Life insurance.
conjoined that. But Lord have mercy, I swear to God, this whole life insurance scandal shit is crazy, and everybody always gets. They all get off. They all get they're all dead within 2 or 3 months of the policy starting. Okay. Nobody's paying on the life insurance policy for 15 years and then Sharon ends up falling out by the horse shed.
You know why? Because life insurance proceeds are one of the few ways you can get income tax-free money.
Yeah.
So that $1 million looks really nice when you don't have to give 40% of it to the government.
Well, plus it blows my mind that these insurance policies are just given to people, unbeknownst to them. They have no idea because this husband pulls out a life insurance policy on his wife and
and they don't require medical exams sometimes, so people don't even know they've been opened.
Which is insane.
It's so
right?
insane.
And then I saw one case where they were like, I think it must have been a $500,000 policy or something, but it was like a couple grand a month or something. Like this guy he was making good money, but he was also, paying good money on his wife's name. And he did that for a certain amount of time. And then, he ended up inheriting like $1.2 million off of whatever. And it's like a sick investment.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm going to invest 60 grand on these weird ass fucking payments
to get 1.2
million, and it's like, and I'm gonna be single at the end of the day.
Jesus Christ,
it's fucking crazy.
Y'all, be careful who you marry.
Please be fucking careful out there. Corazon Chronicles has your back. All right.
Yeah, man. Do the background checks when you start dating somebody, please.
Oh my God, it's so true. The background check thing is insane, and like also, the another form of background check, like we just got done talking about in this episode, is the financial credit. Background.
Hell yeah.
That's a serious thing, because if people do fucked up shit for money, and if someone feels like you're their ticket, or they can somehow embezzle money from you, or God forbid set up some type of life insurance scheme on you, you just always watch your back. People have been killed for a lot less. And people do weird shit for money. You see it all the time when people pass away and the family gets crazy over some money. It's wild.
Look, people were buying fake money called crypto for money. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of weird, crazy shit going on in the world.
Yeah, it's one thing my dad and I talked about, because I have the step parent and all that stuff. But it was like one of those things where he was just like, look, I've got everything wrapped up in a trust. So the whole thing is like, everything's parceled out. There is no
dispute.
There's not even going to be, there's nothing. It's like, I've already said what happens and the lawyers have say whatever happens after that, but nobody can do whatever. Go. So that's great.
Shout out to Pops for having his shit together. Because a lot of us, especially if you're a first gen kid, there's that drama when somebody drops dead and you're like, but I want the house. But then the siblings like, no, but I want the house. It's too much.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I live there longer. It's oh, Jesus, okay.
No.
Right.
Moral of the story, y'all. You
Protect
got to
yourself.
talk about money.
You have to.
You got to talk about that shit. You cannot be, if you can't talk about money, you won't be able to talk about a lot of other shit that's going to come up in your relationship.
Maybe that's why, not to toot our horn or anything, but we have really good communication.
We do. We talk about anything. Like, there's nothing that I'm afraid to talk to you about.
Right. Exactly.
I will literally show you my butthole if I had to.
Oh, God. Jesus. Well, if you ever had like a tapeworm situation, not gonna lie, I got your back. I guess.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Just get a Publix bag and.
I appreciate you so much.
Your asshole. That's hilarious. I think I just saw that.
That's how you know it's love.
No, I think I just saw that actually. All right. So, anyways, speaking of asshole, great segment. We're going to switch it on over to the Am I the Asshole segment. Okay.
Yes, my favorite part of the show.
Are you Jannese's asshole segment? Now, okay, so this one's going to be called 2 tampons may mean my marriage is over.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Okay. Now, I'm going to sum it up a little bit because it is kind of long.
Okay.
And then I'm going to join into the story a little bit later down.
Okay.
So, like I said, this is a wife that's writing this about her husband. And they are friends with another couple. And the husband works with the wife of that couple. So they carpool. They go to lunch. Everybody's in each other's cars, blah, blah, blah. Right? Mm-hmm. Well, the wife the other day is strapping in one of the kids in the back, and she looks down on the floorboard behind the passenger seat, and there's a brand new tampon laying there. Like it must have fell out of a purse or something like that.
Okay.
Now, the reason why that stands out is because the wife is on the shot, right?
Uh-huh.
So she's on the birth control shot. What do you call that?
Depo-Vera.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
So she's on the shot, right? So she's no periods, nothing like that. There's no real need for her to have one and whatever. So she thinks it's a little strange. The next time they're all hanging out, she thinks to herself, oh, I'll just fake an emergency and I'll see if old girl's got a tampon.
Oh.
Right. So
I like how she thinks.
She's like, hey, I need a tampon. Boom. She pulls out one identical to the one that's in the seat, in the car. Right.
Uh-huh.
So she confronts her husband about it. Nothing too crazy, but she asks the husband, hey, so what's up with the tampon? Da da da. She tells him the story, and he's like, look, it probably just fell out. Whatever the case is. Boom.
Okay.
So fast forward, I'm gonna come into the story. Okay. So I put it out of my mind, and so we had dinner with Fiona and her husband a couple weeks later. I sincerely wanted to believe my husband. I just couldn't get over the way that it had been tucked in the seat and how my husband had seemed not to have any regard for it whatsoever. Maybe playing dumb, I don't know. Oops, sorry. All right, boom. Anyways, sorry, I messed that part up.
Okay.
But now, after the thing's been found in the car, it said, I thought I'd seen the last of the out-of-place feminine hygiene products until I found another tampon this morning, this time in my sock drawer.
What?
She said, I feel physically ill at the thought of my husband having an affair and even more nauseated at the thought that the woman might have left these tampons out for me to find.
Oh, shit.
If it was my husband's coworker, why would she give herself away by offering me one the other night? In any other situation, I would want to talk to my husband about this, but I feel too sick and embarrassed to approach him with what I've found. What should I do? Isn't that crazy?
I think this bitch has been in her house.
You think so?
Yeah, I think she's been in the house. Now, if they're having...
She's leaving it on purpose?
I think... Yeah, damn. I do. And you know why? Because I had the same situation happen in my house where I found a pair of underwear under the sink in my fucking house.
Were they like all nasty? And
I did not observe them in that way because I would just look at them and like, first of all, these do not belong to me. This is not my size. And I threw them away. And I was alone in the house at the time. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pretend I didn't see this.
Damn.
And yeah. I think that bitch is absolutely planting.
That's what I thought too when I first heard the story and stuff like that. I was just thinking to myself, like, man, because you always hear the story of the chick that's being used to cheat on. Mm-hmm. She always gives the ultimatum to the husband.
You gotta leave her.
And this is how the chick ends up strangled, or they end up conniving together to kill the wife. Like, yeah, it always comes down to this fork in the road where she's like, I'm tired of being number two. Boom. And it's like, maybe she didn't even want to be number two. Maybe she just wanted to be like, I'm just going to, be a homewrecker and just let this shit pop off.
I mean, that's what happened to me, right? The bitch showed up in my house, knocking on the door, talking about, hey, I've been with your husband for 3 years. I guess she got tired of like the runaround.
I mean, did she know that he was married?
She said that he told her that we were separated.
Wow.
But then it's like, I asked her, like, how do you know my house? Because she showed up by herself.
Right.
And she's like, oh, well, this is where I would come whenever he was here.
Right.
And I'm like, so, bitch, you really thought this man could afford this fucking house by himself?
I mean, look, he's a fucking successful DJ.
Get the fuck out of
here. This guy's fucking Diplo out
here. You are wild. But you know what? I
never
never had photos on the wall, so that might be why, maybe she didn't know.
Well, guess what? You got photos on the wall now.
Yeah, I sure do.
Hey, Puerto Rico photos, if that.
Yes.
Hey. All right, man. Yeah, I don't think she's the asshole, and I also am not sure if anything's actually really happening. I mean, it could be happening. I'm gonna need a lie detector
test at the minimum. Polygraph that motherfucker.
Do you think that? I mean, I think that it would be safer for her to go and ask the girl than it would be to ask the husband. Like if she's like really that upset about it and like whatever, and she needs to know or she wants to know, then I think I would just ask the chick, not on like any type of like hostile, aggressive energy either. I would just be like, hey, so
about the tampon in my sock drawer.
Yeah, I've noticed these two things, and it's just like, if you're trying to tell me that my husband's doing me dirty, then that's cool. But like, I just want to know now, because if I need to take the kids and like get a divorce, please tell me.
Yeah, like don't delay this shit, especially if you're being this flagrant about it. You want to be with him, go have him, but let me know.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, I don't want you to like do weird shit to my toothbrush and stuff. It's like a sick game for you, you know? Like, these people are fucking gross.
Yeah, I would be really suspicious if I was her. You know, the only other thing I could assume, if we want to give the husband the benefit of the doubt, is that he found the tampon in his car. Yeah. Because maybe she dropped two, and he only saw one. Mm-hmm. And so he brought it upstairs and put it in her drawer.
Well, one of the comments on the thread, a lady was like, okay, so before I get into what I actually think, she's like, I do want to just preface it by saying my husband is guilty of just whenever he picks up in the house, in the room and stuff like that, he picks stuff up and he just puts it like in my drawer. Okay. Or like in the closest drawer, you know, kind of ballparks it. She's like, so that's the only thing. But she's like, but the fact that you're on the shot, the fact that you don't even have the shit in the house is crazy.
Yeah, it can only be coming from this woman.
Right.
And so how is it getting in the house? It's either she's putting it in the house or the husband's just the dummy.
That, or I mean, yeah. And then, all right, so then as the side chick, what would be the what would you expect the outcome to be? I mean, you would expect for the wife to come to you at some point, or like.
Yeah, I mean, I think she wants maybe him to get divorced, and she's just waiting it out.
What if they weren't even hooking up, and she was just doing it to just tear up their relationship just for fun, and she was just like on some bored friend shit. And she's like, I just want to see if I can like play like the puppeteer.
Wow.
And then like I'll just go in the room and I'll just put one in her underwear drawer, because how is he gonna explain that?
That's
right?
Like psycho shit,
right? I mean, but it could get. I feel like that's a movie plot.
It really is.
Like
I'm just like,
that
first
jealous
of all,
friend that's like, I don't want him, but I don't want
you to
be
fired,
happy
then.
Either.
Get her fired from your job,
like,
sir.
Yeah, I don't want you to have the white picket fence because I don't have it.
Yo.
All right.
This is why my circle is small and tight.
Too tinfoil hat over here.
No, you are very conspiracy theory based. So
people do crazy shit though.
No,
and it's
true.
Like, you know, once you hear about what things can do to people's relatives and like their own kids, and just stupid shit, you're just like, man, you can't put anything past anybody.
No.
You know, I'm not saying you're doing it, but I am also saying that it's a possibility. I just came up with it. So you can't tell me that it's like, you know, I mean, I'd be like, what the fuck?
I think, she should be very, very suspicious and do her research onto what the fuck's going on. And honestly, it's one of those situations for me that if it smells like fire, it might be a fire.
I've got an idea. She can just call Jannese private investigator Enterprises, and I swear to God, Jannese will have that man sniffed out in about 4 hours.
Facts. We're gonna be parked outside his fucking job watching his ass.
Oh no, not you.
No, I'm saying me and the wife.
Oh shit! I don't want any.
Me and the wife are gonna be finding out what's going on real quick.
You guys will be in there like you guys are like two old Spanish ladies watching Caso Cerrado
with wigs and clown makeup on.
Fucking Caso Cerrado. Let's go.
Oh man, this was fun, babe.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I'm gonna leave next week's subject or whatever topic, I guess, up to you, or maybe we'll just have something hit us throughout the week.
Yeah, I think we're gonna leave it as a mystery, and we'll see what we end up with for next week. But we will be in Puerto Rico, so we'll be shooting some couples content out there. Make sure that you tune into the YouTube channel to watch that Corazon Chronicles podcast. Please make sure you're following us on social media. You can find us on X, aka Twitter, at the what the hell's our handle? Corazon Pod.
Corazon Pod.
And you can find us on Instagram at Corazon Chronicles Pod. Please make sure you are leaving ratings and reviews on the show if you listen on Apple. Make sure you're sharing, subscribing, so you never miss an episode. And if you want us to answer a question on the show, you can send us a DM.
Hit that DM. Slide in there.
Or you can email us at corazonchroniclespodcast@gmail.com. Before we tune out, just want to remind you of the sponsor of our show, BetterHelp. You can get affordable therapy from anywhere in the world right from your phone. Just go to betterhelp.com/corazon to get 10% off your first month.
And don't forget to go check out Yo Quiero Dinero with Jannese. She has all kinds of side hustle. She's got courses. She's got workbooks for you guys. I mean, she's got all kinds of. I mean, just her podcast alone on YouTube. You can go in there. There's all kinds of how to handle your debt, how to build your credit, what to do with real estate, and they're all interviews with people that are experts in those fields. So
absolutely,
definitely go check that out. And then also on when we upload next week, I think that episode will be it's going to be from somewhere in Puerto Rico. We're going to find a spot to record.
Hell yeah.
We're going to bring the tripod.
I think we got to go to El Yunque, babe.
El Yunque, I mean, maybe that. I don't know. Maybe we use the mics that we have on right now and try to do it at the beach.
Hell
maybe
yeah.
we can do something from the
condo.
Maybe the condo. Maybe we can have the background.
I'm here for it.
Of the ocean up there. I mean, we're on the 13th floor.
Yeah.
So
it's a vibe.
I think that would be fucking sick.
Let's do
it.
The
backdrop in Puerto Rico episode.
Hell yeah. Super excited for that.
Woo. All right, let's go.
All right, y'all. So we will see you next week. Make sure that you are tuning in, sharing the show, and we'll see you soon.
Adios, amigos.
Bye.
See you.